and a bit about myself. Okay. Right, are we on? Okay. Well, just a word of welcome to the people here, and a word of welcome to everybody watching on YouTube. I don't know where you are. The more obscure, obviously, the better. But yes, thank you. Let's hope you enjoyed today's demo. I've been turning for a number of years, and today I am going to demo a small little bowl, traditional turning. And then Hardware Center asked me to demo the carbide tools. Right now, I must profess, in the beginning, I shooed carbide, thinking that it's more scraping than anything else. And since I've been asked to demo, I've done some research and I've done a lot of YouTube videos. And I found out that, hey, it depends on how you present it. You can actually produce shavings, and gives a very good finish. So it all depends on how you present. And turning, what's nice, important about turning, from what I've learned over the years, two things important: bevel rub and angle of presentation. Those are the two things that are key, as far as I'm concerned. No bevel rub, you're looking for trouble. Okay. And if you go back, and if you have a dig in, go back, look at your movements, and you'll find out that it was no bevel rub, unsupported cut. Right. If it's not a supported cut, pardon? Okay, bevel rub. You got, this is your, wait, let's use this one. This is your cutting edge, right? That little bit there is the bevel. Right. On a bigger chisel, let me see what I've got. Oh, yeah. Okay. That part there is the bevel. So from there, all the way around to there is the bevel. Right. And if you cut, you have to have the bevel rub against, because it's a supported cut. Right. It supports the tip, the cutting edge. So whenever you're doing, keep the bevel rubbing. The moment, sometimes when you're deep hollowing, right, scrapers are better, or the new deep hollowing tools, because it's got a supported edge, it's flat. I watched a video by a Dutchman the other day, Roland Kanner, and he did a demo on something he called the bottom feeder. Now the bottom feeder, I didn't bring it today, but what it is, it's a chisel like this, but instead of that angle, it's virtually straight, okay? Which means you can get in deep and still have the bevel rub. Whereas if you do this and you're down there, it's in a scraping action. It's not cutting, it's scraping, okay? And that's where angle of presentation comes in. For turning, you want to have, it's like slicing versus, you can't cut timber like this, right? Yeah, you can scrape it, right? But it doesn't cut. If you change the angle and you slice, that is what you do. If you take a hand plane, you don't go straight in, right? You angle it, because it's shearing the grain, which makes for a good cut. Same with tools, right? If you put the angle, there's your bevel rubbing, now you change. If it's there, it's scraping, right? If you change your angle of presentation, your tool presenting to the wood, that becomes a razor sharp edge. It's like a knife. It slices the timber, so you get a better finish. Right. Okay. Anything else? All right. Okay, so what are we going to do? Yes. A bowl. Okay, that's an interesting question. Okay, yeah, let me explain to this one, because you can see the grain. Okay, I just finished a little bit playing with it, yeah, because this is new to me, and these carbide tools, to just get used to them a bit. Okay, that one there, right? The grain is running diagonally across, okay? Okay, a tree trunk, the grain is running that way, right? So the tree, in this instance, right, the tree is growing that way. So this is a slice off the side. Now, what makes it interesting is the fact that now you've got short grain, long grain, long grain. Okay, that is why with especially carbide tools and with wood turning, traditional, right? It's important how you present. Okay, because you want to minimize cutting on the short grain, because that you're cutting. Okay, wood is nothing but millions of straws. Okay, think of it in terms of straws. Okay, if a straw comes around like this and you're cutting into the straw, you're not going to get a very clean cut, right? Whereas if you come around and you take long grain, or you're going and you're cutting the straws down this way on the other side, okay, it's a little bit better cut. But cutting into them, okay, you're always going to get what they call grain tear out. If your presentation of tool and tool angle and that is not correct, you can minimize it. All right. Okay, and there's techniques in wood turning of bridging that. I'll show you a bit later. I'll take a scraper and do the bottom end, okay, and do a bit of shear scraping. In other words, shear scraping. Scraping is normally just presenting the scraper at center height, right, and then coming around, which takes away, if you're not proficient at your chisel and the movement thereof, you get a bit of ridges, okay, bumps. Now, to take that away, you take a scraper, okay. If you present it straight on, it's straight scraping, okay. But if you tilt it slightly, say at a 45 or a 30 degree, okay, what you're doing is you're presenting, instead of scraping, you're now shearing the grain. Are you with me? All right, makes sense. Okay. All right, so you want to minimize and you want to take away, because now the straw comes around, okay, and you actually, instead of scraping it, you're shearing it from the side. Yeah. Okay. Wat nog, mensen? Right. Okay, so we start. I tried oak, and oak is hard, right, as a species. Okay, let's see. Which shall we do first? The carbide tools or traditional turning? Using traditional or standard tools, whichever you want to call it. Shall we start with traditional? Okay, right. This is a piece I grabbed. Let's see how far we go. Okay. This, I have a few lathes, but nothing as smart as this. Huh? No. One day when I grow up, okay, I'll get something like this. Hell, it's a beautiful tool. If you just, the way everything moves, nothing sticky, nothing, jams. It's an amazing piece to have. Love it. And I was using the X-Minster S100 chuck just now. Wow. Okay. But, when I started turning, there was no chucks. Nothing. If you wanted to do anything, it was a chamfer chuck and a faceplate. And between centers, that's what you had. Okay. So you had to start and make everything. Today, we've got all these fandangled stuff, which makes it hell. I'll tell you one thing, makes it much nicer. Okay, let me just check this one. I marked it, but I don't think I got it 100%. That's good enough. Right, okay. Make sure, safety-wise, okay. No fancy bits hanging, okay. Leave your favorite jewelry at home, okay. Just safety, always, okay. And my experience, I've got plenty of that, okay. And mostly, it's like when I was flying. Most of the accidents are pilot error, okay. Same with turning. If you ask the guy with the accidents, it was user error, okay. So as long as your fingers are behind here, they're safe, All right, behind the tool rest. Okay, so let's see. Start. Right, okay. Again, make sure that your spindle is locked. Right, I'm using a drive center. Okay, one, the blank is small enough to do that, to warrant it. If it was a much bigger, heavier, I wouldn't use that. And I would use, and I start with the faceplate or the screw chuck. It's just a hole with the screw turned in that grabs inside the chuck. But this is the smallest faceplate, unfortunately, that they have, which is bigger than the blank I'm using. So it doesn't work that way. Okay, so I chose to use that. Right. Okay, so now let's get my stuff ready. Where is it? Okay. Right. There. And let's see what else. Yeah, okay. We'll use them as we go. Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Right. You want to cut at center height. Right. So there it is. Now, I see many people when they start, they do this. Okay. Right. And now they cut. Okay. It does that. Yes, it will cut. The problem is, okay, there's grain tear out. Okay, why? Because we go back to what we discussed earlier. You've got straws running that way. Okay, now you're cutting straight into the straw when you want it to cut nice. Doesn't work that way. Okay, so what you do there. Okay, now when I'm cutting across the face, I'm cutting long grain all the time. Okay, right, down there. And you don't need, because I'm close to the work, I don't need a death grip. Beginner's mistake, okay? And you hold on for dear life, okay? It's not necessary, okay? If you are proficient, okay, there you are. Okay, I can do it with one hand. Because all it is, this high hand guides. I'm left-handed, so hey, I'm not going to apologize for that, but yeah. Right, so there, okay? Okay, another thing, watch your bevel. When you, if it's important, like with those little vessels I'm making, I want to, this is now moving at an angle, right? The cut will always move in the direction of your bevel. In other words, it's there. If I'm presenting perpendicular to that, it will move. If I'm a bit this way, my cut will go that way. If I'm out this way, it will come out. It always follows the direction of your bevel. So just be aware of that, okay? If it's important. Okay, so there. Now I get mine to go. Yeah. That's a bit better, huh? Right. Yes, but I'm cutting. Yes. Yes. Okay, great. Welcome. Welcome. Because once a hoho bites, it's an amazing hoho. Okay, when I started, many years ago, I used to come home at 5 o'clock or 5:30. And then my wife will come out and say, hey, are you coming in? It's already 3 o'clock in the morning, you know. You just zone out because you get so involved. It's a beautiful hobby to have. Okay, good question. My tool rest is slightly below center line, right? But where's my tool end? It's there. Thank you. I'm cutting at center. Same as with engineering. Okay, with the steel lathe. You cut at center height. So, but I can't, if I up this one to there, okay, I'm up here. It will cut. Let's see. Okay, but now I got to drop. Okay, and sometimes it's just impractical to get down here. Yeah, to get the bevel to rub. Either now, instead of there, right, which is comfortable, right? I now got to go down here because I've upped my tool rest, which come, let me show you. Come and stand here. It's the only way to solve it, is to actually have a look. Yeah. Okay, just hold on. Okay. Just don't. Okay.
Say in the direction of the bevel, so you go in that way.
All right. Okay. So now, just don't clog the camera. But yeah. Okay. There it is. Okay. Now just come and watch this. Okay. I'm cutting at center height. The direction of my bevel. Can you see the bevel there? Right. Now watch when I cut. Can you see it's rubbing behind it, and it's following the path of what it's done. Now, if I do this, now watch. She goes down. Angle of presentation. That's all. All right. Okay. Does that make sense? Right. So you don't want to turn down here, okay? And you don't want to, because it's uncomfortable. You can, but it's just, okay? So center height, much better. Right. And yeah. So there it is. Okay. Let's just get this one nicely done. There you are. Right. Okay. That's it. Okay. Not bad. Okay. Right. So now comes the important part. Normally, if it's on a faceplate, it's easy. I can present from there and get the size of my tenon, because I'm going to make a tenon because I want to shape the outside and leave a tenon for the chuck. Right. Now, again, the chuck. If you notice here, right, this, if I extend it this way, it's not 100% round, okay? If I present it, if it's really closed, okay, there, have a look, it's not round either. Okay, so if you grab there, you're only grabbing at certain spots, okay? And converse again, if you expand over, right? So the optimal for this, it can be done, and I've done it many times, okay? But it leaves, where's this one? I'll show you now. Where's that little one? This was bigger than what I wanted. Can you see those little indentations? Right, okay? That's what it leaves. Now, if you rechuck, you can turn it away. But sometimes you can get away with it, okay? It leaves no marks, which saves you, okay? So, to the size, yeah. Okay, so let's see. That's around about, what would you say? That's about as close to round as we can get. Okay, pretty good. You can do it with a 3-jaw chuck, but I haven't seen a wood turning chuck that's 3-jaw. It's engineering. No, it's engineering. But a 3-jaw chuck, I've got one, and I've used it, okay? No problem. In the beginning, these things were way beyond what I could afford. So I bought a 3-jaw, 100mm engineering chuck, right? And I use that, okay? You just use a deeper tenon because the grip is not so nice. These are recessed slightly, so it grips well, okay? And the power of these is amazing. So that you don't have to do that. You can just nip it, right? So when I started, what I use the 3-jaw for now, it's beautiful for off-center turning. You'll know that, okay? You can crook it. And you got this beautiful. So you got a chuck that grabs. It's not off-center turning. It's off-center, but you're not moving your center. You're moving your chuck jaws. And in certain instances, it's beautiful to use. Right. So there's a bit of, in wood turning and engineering, there's cross-pollination. It's basically the same, just slightly, it's like the same car. It's like a car, but they're just different models, that's all. But the principles are the same. Right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I want to actually just straighten this one slightly because she's skew. Wow, don't want to do it that way. See? Before. All right, there she is. Okay, safety. The closer you are to the tourist, to the work, the better, the safer, right? It stands to reason. If you okay, and it's a round one like the distance from the crest to that is the distance that I'm turning around. If I'm doing there, right, the forces are unbelievable, right? So you don't turn where you're turning and think that you're going to get away with it, okay? Maybe the first or the second time, but it's going to bite you, okay, at one stage, right? So let me just get this set up. Okay, it's not running through. Okay, there's different schools of thought. Some guys like to come in from this end, okay, do it this way. No. But we go back to what I said in straws. I'm cutting into, right? It just makes it easier for me. Because it's not important, I'm just truing it up, okay? So it's not going to be my finished surface. So I do it this way. Okay. Which is just, there, she's running through. All right. And now, for safety, I bring it down. Wait, let's stop it first. Where did I put that divider? There. Okay. That's one of the things in woodworking. It's amazing how tools disappear. Wow, you put it down now, right? And then it's, where did that go? I beg your pardon? Is it age? Well, fortunately, I'm not that old yet. Okay, so I'm lucky. Yes, I know exactly what you're saying, right? You walk to the kitchen, you can't remember why. Okay. Yeah. Yes, that's part and parcel.
One question, how do you determine the speed at which
The speed I'm comfortable at. It depends on species. It depends on what you're turning, your proficiency, whatever. Right? I can take this, right? Start. I'm running at what? 500 RPM now, 600 RPM. But I can crank it up to 2000 RPM and I can still. Okay? There. Okay? And speed does correlate with a clean cut. Okay? Some species just don't like slow speeds. And some species of timber, right? Especially very hard timber, they don't like a high speed. My experience, because they're hard, it blunts your tool very quickly, generates a tremendous amount of heat, right? It's all not necessary. Slow down the speed slightly, and it's a lot to do with experience, like in everything. You present the tool, you cut, you feel a little bit more speed or a little less speed, and just try it. And also, for the beginners, you turn at the speed that look, you're not going to get the most amazing bowl first time, right? Okay, it took me years to get there. But you turn at the speed that you're comfortable with, right? If it takes you longer, hey, whoopee, if it takes you longer. Yes. Absolutely. No, once it's trued up, you can have a big piece like this and still turn it 1,000 plus, depending, all right, on how you secured it. On a faceplate, I'm pretty confident, right? I can up my speed, right? And between centers, this thing is going absolutely nowhere, right? Okay, it's locked in. It's tight. Thank you. It's secured. But yeah, the speed that you're comfortable with. Okay. If I slow this down, there it is at 1,500, 2,000, 2,000 RPM. I can go down to there, 800, 850 RPM. Okay. I can still. Okay. Okay. Now, just turning this, you can hear it. Okay. I turn fast. Okay. It's not cutting efficiently, as efficient as it can. If you up it slightly, at what was this? 500? No, this is 700 RPM. Now, there, my ear tells me that's more or less the right speed. That is cut running at 1,059. Okay. Now listen to the cut. Okay. Also, when I'm cutting, it gives me a cleaner surface. There's no marks because it's turning fast enough for me to move fast. If you're turning, okay, remember the timber must come to you to cut. So the slower the speed, the slower I move to attain a clean cut. Now what happens is you move, right? It just gives you a cleaner cut with less variations, okay? Is that right? Let's go for this now. Let's see if I can fluff this one. Right, okay. There, okay. I just see if I can, you see, the moment, there, I knew it, okay. There she is, okay. Just to demarcate my tenon, right? It's now according to that size. So, but as you saw, if it's normal, and this is not here, and I'm on a faceplate, I would present straight. Be careful of this point, because that one comes over. And depending on your speed, it can be pretty violent. Okay, right, a blister or two will tell you. Okay, this here is a car door, it's not turning. Okay, but yeah. So there, that's the size of my tenon. Okay, it is round. No, that's why we're here. Exactly. Okay, so I've got it on the inside here. Now it's slightly, but ever so slightly ovoid, okay? Or not in the true round. But that's on purpose, because now when I cut my tenon and I grab, right, that little bit of movement to clamp the tenon will make it round. Okay, right. So let's see. This is an amazing machine. Normally what I tell my students is exactly what I do. I tell them not to do. Don't move your tool rest. I've done that so many times, and you walk around and you fume for a couple of days because you spent 3-4 hours turning a vessel, right? And in the last moment, you just want to quickly do something, and you adjust your tool rest, okay? And it sticks, and you go, tra, and you touch a thin vessel, and all you got is little pieces scattered all over. Little pieces all over, because when you change the height of your tool rest, okay, if you're proficient, some guys, cut corners, but when you're starting off, if it's there, right, don't try and adjust, right? Be on the safe side. Just, there she is, right? Another thing, always make sure that it clears. Okay, I've done that too. Don't worry, it's all part of the school, where you do the whole thing and you go, and you switch on and pow. Okay, there she goes. All right. So, just save yourself some time. So there we have it. Okay. The smell of kiat is amazing. Love it, but it burns my nose. This is the bowl gouge. Bowl gouge. I'm not making the tenon. I start the tenon with this, right? The bowl gouge just takes away the waste. It's for bowl turning, right? And then when the tenon is where I want it, okay? The inside of this jaw has got a slight dovetail, right? And to improve your grip, you mimic the tenon, yeah, with the dovetail. Just to secure, it's a better grip. No, I will most probably use one of the other tools, right? Okay. You mimic that so that you've got a better grip. All right. So let's try it. Okay. Okay, now. There you are. Right. Okay, if this wasn't here, you'll come in from this end and you'll do your thing. You cut uphill. Okay? Why do you cut uphill? You cut, if the tailstock wasn't here, right, I can get in here and I can start cutting and I cut uphill. The reason for that is, again, we get back to the straws. Okay? You've got straws running. If you're cutting downhill, you've got nothing that supports the grain ahead of it, right? You're cutting downhill. Whereas if you're cutting and you're cutting uphill, right? Look at your grain orientation as well. You're cutting, the straws run this way, okay? This way. Now if you're cutting uphill, right? You're cutting mostly long grain because you're cutting across the straws. Are you with me? So it just makes for a better cut and a more supported cut and less grain tear out. But now because of this, right, you can't. So I'm using a shear scrape to achieve what I want. So again, I bring my work closer. All right. There you are. And what's nice, okay, you see my angle. I'm dropping my handle, right? And I'm cutting. Oh shit, let me put this one here. Because look at this. Every time I move, all right, there. Okay. I'm cutting at an angle. I'm actually shear cutting the grain. I'm planing, right? So if you come a field here, you'll see it's pretty clean cut, right? So that's it. Now I'm going to come in here because there. Okay, now I normally go in at a slight little indentation so that when I finish the bowl, right, I can take that away. Okay? And it sits flat on the table. Yes, it's a tenon. Okay, you mean the depth? Okay. It's got to. Okay, you'll see now when I'm finished with this one. Okay, the depth of the tenon. How deep do you want to go? Okay, if you're a beginner, okay, I can guarantee you, okay, it's going to be maximum. In other words, it's going to be on a small bowl like this. It's going to be that depth, right? Which is half your bowl gone already. Okay, because you want the grip and you're not realizing the power of this. Okay, the hold it's got. It's got a recess, a dovetail. This here is about 2 mil, 2.5, somewhere there, right? That's good enough. I may make it a little bit more, but that's good enough to hold for me to hollow this vessel. Yeah, but that's why I'm saying when you're a beginner, right, go a bit deeper. If you're a beginner, you can go 3, maybe 4 mil, but never exceed the depth. This is about 10 mil. This depth here. From the surface, you'll register because you're going to register that against the bowl so that when you start, it runs true. And that there. Now, if you're deeper than that, then especially if this is not trued up, your bowl's not going to run true because it's going to do this. It's going to oscillate. Okay. If I make my tenon, okay, deeper than the depth of the chuck, and it's got to register at the back here, the back there, right? If you haven't trued up the back, it's got nothing to register against. So the chuck will hold, but the moment you start it will be doing that because it's not running true. Okay, you want this to run true. So what I've done is I know that, remember this one was doing that? Okay. Now I didn't take away that, the tenon, bottom of the tenon, I didn't take that. So I just concentrated on doing it here. And that is running true. Okay. But I have to now true the bottom of the tenon because I can't do that once I've changed around and put it in the chuck. So I've now trued up the bottom of my tenon. Right? But it's only two point something odd more. That will be good enough. If you a beginner, make it 3, maybe 4 mil. Yeah. Yes, because you are forcing it to, because it's registering against this. It's registering against the surface that's running true. Okay? Yes, we've all had it. Every turner, when you re-chuck. Okay? Sometimes, because of the way that the timber, the grains compress, you get slight movement, and you get a slight movement. Now, sometimes it's acceptable, and you leave it. Okay? Or sometimes you just true up the outside quickly before you start hollowing. Okay? Right, so those are the options to consider. This is the live tail center, and this is the drive center. %, in line. That's a mark of a good lathe, yes. Yeah, because if they don't, you've got endless problems. Okay, a mark of a good lathe is the moment you put this up and you bring them together, they're 100% aligned. No movement in the tailstock. Okay, right. Otherwise, you've got to constantly adjust. Okay, if it's this way, not too bad, but if it's lower or higher, oh man, you got endless trouble. Okay, so when you buy secondhand or you buy new, always check. Okay, I don't care the make. Right, things happen in life. But I can assure you, something like this quality, right? That's been checked. Okay, it's running true. Mark my words. All right. Okay. But yeah, so now let's just make this a little bit deeper. Where's my? Yeah. Okay. Right. Let me just bring it up. Whoa! Let me do what I preach. All right. There. Okay. Let's make it a bit deeper. There. Right. Okay. There you are. Now, all I got to do, and there's different ways of doing it, all kinds of tools. What I use normally, it's a round one. Okay. It's a parting tool. It's a skew chisel. It's all kinds of stuff. Right. Okay. Extremely versatile. I normally just put it here. Right there. You can't see it, but there's a very slight dovetail there. Okay. If you want to come and have a look, by all means. Okay. There's a slight undercut. Right. It's got a slight dovetail. Yeah, it's got a dovetail because you want to grip. You want to maximize your grip. Same diameter, right? And now you're mimicking the inside of the jaws. Oh, Willie, come here.
Just do it again. Just a little bit. And see how you do.
Where's my, what did I do with it? Yeah, I put it back. Yeah. Right. So, okay. Right, so, there. I just turn it on its side, okay, and I present it. Yeah. Okay. If I turn it on its side, it mimics
Yes, okay.
the dovetail. Right. Okay.
You set this angle of the tool rest to the same taper that you want to have.
No. No, I mean, I'm doing cross.
Okay.
That's running this way, that's one. No, I put it here, right, because this is the closest angle.
Get in
Yeah,
and have
I can't do it this way because then I don't have enough tool support, right? So what I do is I change that way, right? Okay, so that I have a nice angle that gives me the best support. Right? It just becomes second nature. You don't even think of that anymore, right? But yeah, I can understand in the beginning. Right, so, no, I was there. Trust me. Okay, I got the bangs, I got the brakes, I got the diggings, I got all those badges. I got them. All right, got the t-shirt too. Right. So, now, this is, yeah. I don't know if I should I sandpaper? I don't think it's necessary. You know what I'm saying? We all know. Okay, let's no. Let me rather do it this way. Okay, you get all kinds of schools of thought, right? I've got a little piece of sandpaper there. It's, what is it? 120, right? You can do it this way, where you use. Some guys use the new fandangled angled drills. Okay, very nice to have. Right? I'm old school. Okay, I bought this one because it's small and it's powerful. Right, it's a very nice little drill to have. Okay, I think if I'm right, this is for drywalling. All right, and then we do it this way. Let's see. There. Okay, and then I watch out for specials all the time. Here's a lot of a braid net. Okay, amazing stuff to have. Right, and there's 150, there's 80, and there's 320. I'm waiting. It's a braid net. It's sandpaper, but wait, yeah. Let me give you a piece. Yeah. You can pass it around. Is there one or two? Ah, there. Pass it around. It's abrasive, but it's a net. Very efficient, beautiful stuff to have. But it's expensive, right? So what I do is, in my regular job, I help somebody with purchases once a week. And when I go to the company that he buys from, one of them, they automotive paint company. And they have a special table, right? I always watch. And I once got a 5 liter of sanding cedar at a humdinger price. Okay, bought that. And when they run these, okay, they have a box different. The problem is that they only have 3 grids, a 80, a 150, and a 320. Okay, I'd like something in between. But yeah, so what this does, Velcro, goes on there, like that. You put it in your drill, okay, and it counter rotates. Very efficient sanding, by the way, right? Because what is happening is your work is turning this way, your drill is turning that way. All right, so you counter rotate. There. I normally want to slow down a bit. There, okay? There. Okay. Can you see the direction of rotation? Yeah. Come on. Yeah, knew that. Ah, I knew that was going to happen. Yes. AMT, they got this. Yeah. I was lucky at the Nationals this year. They gave away these as prizes, and I won. So I thought, oh, okay. But normally, what I do is I use my sandpaper, and the key is when you're using normal sandpaper, right, is to move. Because if you don't move, right, it leaves lines, and they're difficult to get out. Trust me, right? And then you go down the grids. If you start off, this is 120. If I started with 320, I will go finer. Just go down in the grids. All right. Okay. You can, but why? If you've got sandpaper, why won't you use a file? No. Yeah, use your tools. There's specific things. A file is not designed to do this kind of work, right? I've never seen anybody use a file yet. Maybe if you're turning bone. Yeah, maybe, because that's hard. But if you've got sandpaper and you're using your tools correctly, your finish is such that you don't need a file to fix anything, right? A rasp or a file or anything like that. It's not necessary. Okay, so you got this. Oh yes, just one little, especially if you're turning big stuff. A little joke. If you're sandpapering, okay, and you smell pig burn, let go. Okay. Pig. If you smell pig burn, let go. Right. It's just one of those little jokes. Because that's why I slow down. Okay, because man, it gets hot. Okay. I normally take a double like that, which also helps. All right, so there. All right. That's 120. And then let's try the 320. 150. Yeah. Now that is a beautiful finish. That's really a beautiful finish. Right. Okay, so now we're going to rechuck. Okay. Right. In the meantime, whilst I'm busy, just pass it around. Okay. Where is it? Yeah. Little joke. Years ago, at the club, we had a lady that started there. Very nice lady, beautiful human being. I still know her. And she started turning. And she looked and she says, "Where's that thing?" We said, "What?" She says, "A goofty." We said, "Goofty? What the hell is a goofty?" And she said, "That thing that you..." Okay. That's a goofty, right? Because what we wanted to do is use it to knock out. It's a knockout bar. Right. So since then, in our club, it's a goofty. Right. When you are knocking out your center, right, don't just knock. Okay. That's expensive, and so is this. Right. Just hold it. There. Okay. Pardon? Yeah, not only fall, because this can get in very tight. And the next moment you're knocking and choo, okay, it marks the bed. Okay, you just paid a fortune for a perfectly machined bed and then you dent it, right? Or this tip goes blunt. Okay, so try and be gentle. All right. Okay, so now let's put in. Yeah, jacaranda. I tell you what, jacaranda, for me, Kiat also turns like butter. It's beautiful, right? But jacaranda is extremely, even if you turn it wet, right? It's an extremely forgiving timber. Doesn't crack easy. If it does crack, it doesn't make big cracks like that. And yes. Oh, okay, yes, okay, I'll do that. The question is, okay, what species do I suggest he starts with, right? Don't start with pine. Okay, everybody starts with pine. It's the most horrible timber to start with. And I'll explain to you why. Especially South African pine. The growth rings, right, is quite pronounced. Now you got a soft piece of timber and a very hard piece of timber. Then a soft piece of timber, okay, and you get chatter and you get all kinds of cuts. You can never, okay, get a good finish. If you do, right, like if you're more experienced and you take a piece of pine, very sharp tool, high speed. Cuts better. Pine likes speed. Soft timbers like speed, right? But yeah, I love my jack. It sands well. It cuts well. It's forgiving in many instances. If it's wet and you leave it to dry, it doesn't warp like crazy. It sands well. It stains. Love stain. Beautiful. Hell, I've done the most amazing colors. Right? And also, it's that's jacaranda there. It's a blonde timber. It's beautiful. Turns like a charm. Love it. But that's what I would suggest for a beginner. If you can get it, by the way. Right? I'm battling at the moment to get some jack. What? Jacaranda. Yes. Right. Okay. Jacaranda. Jack. Okay. Oh, okay. Right there. Just nice, well finished, smooth. Right. Okay. So now, when you are chucking up something, okay, small like this, there's no major problem because what you do, right, is you just hold it up against, okay. That's running more or less true. Let's see. Yeah, she's running true. Okay. Especially when you're getting into the bigger stuff, I've seen guys put it on the lathe, yeah, and they're battling with this heavy piece of timber to try and get to fit it into the chuck and get it to run true. Right? Why not just change it? Take what you turn, put the flat side down, right? Take this chuck, put it on and just whopper. Just tie it. Much lighter, much easier, and more chance of you getting it to run true than trying to put it in. This here is not a problem because it's small. All right. Nonetheless, I'm going to now start hollowing. Also, dire experience. When you're busy here and you got this thing here, and you're busy working, and the next moment, man, okay, that hurts. Right. So what you do? Always. Okay? Yes. That's your swing. They call it your swing. That you can turn. Yes. And okay, the question is the distance between the center of your spindle to the bed. That determines the size that you can turn, maximum, yes. It's called your swing. You can't, unless this one is a beautiful lathe. This one can undo here, right? And I can actually swing. That's what makes this an amazing lathe. You can actually take this, okay, undo this lever, and you can swing it out. And now you got the outboard. Look at the swing here. I can pivot this. Or even if I've got a loose standing tool post with a tool rest, a tool post, okay? It's a freestanding tool rest, a post, right? I can turn this at 90 degrees and then turn, which I've done, right? I've done that before on my other lathe outboard, right? I don't have this, but I got outboard capability, and you can swing. I turned something for somebody at 1.6 meters in diameter, right? Okay, it wasn't that big. Okay, it's not like that by 1.6. It was a disc, right? On a faceplate, and you turn it, right? But outboard, you need a left-hand thread. Unless the new stuff, right? This one has got a forward to reverse switch. So I can have a right-hand thread on both. Okay, I just flip the switch and I get the right rotation. So you don't need, today you don't need a left-hand thread anymore. All right. I have a Watkin RS that I'm restoring, and I had a new shaft for the motor and that, and also I put in the outside, the outboard was a left-hand thread, bigger. I think it was 1.25, 1.5. Okay, something like a 8 TPI, and I changed it to a right-hand thread as well to run on my stuff, because all my lathes, when I started turning, the first chucks I bought was Nova. And Nova, before they changed, was 30 by 3.5 pitch. And I changed mine, all my lathes run on 30 by 3.5, so that I don't have to change, and it all just fits. All right. Okay. So now, here we go. I've taken that out. I move it out of the way, take the tailstock. Does anybody have questions about the parts of a lathe? Okay. If I talk about the headstock, do you know what I'm talking about? Tailstock. Do I talk about the ways? Do I talk? Okay, let me just start at the beginning then. Let me put it at people that are total novices. Okay, the lathe has component parts. And whether it's engineering or whether it's wood turning, okay, the terms are generic. This is the headstock, right? This is where it all happens. This is a chuck, right? And you get different configurations thereof, but that is a chuck to hold, right? Then you get the tailstock. You get a drive center. I've heard it named all kinds of names, but basically that is a 4-prong drive center. Right? You get 2 prongs and 4. Okay? 2 is nice if you have a piece of timber where it's not 100% square, but it's skew. So then if you use a 4-jaw, a 4-prong, one point will hold and the others will be free. So if you have a 2-prong, okay, you put it perpendicular to the actual angle, and it gives you the hold that you need. Okay? This is a tail center, okay, right? Now, this is a live tail center. Live in the sense that it's got a ball bearing inside. It rotates. In other words, it stands dead still inside. This is the quill. Right? That piece inside, right, let me just undo. This little bit that moves forward and backwards, right, that's the quill. Right? And the tail center fits in there, right? And it rotates. Now, in the old days, before they had all these fandangle stuff, that's where the term dead center comes from. Right? Because they had a pin like this, sharp, right? And the old guys, old timers used to put it in, right? Put a bit of wax, put it up, right? And the timber would revolve around a stationary point. That's where it was dead center, because it didn't move. Now it's a live center, right? Okay, live tail center. So that's it. Then what you have the next, right? This is the banjo. That's what that is, okay? The banjo, right? And it holds a tool rest. That is the tool rest. For obvious reasons, well, it's named most aptly because you put your tool on there. It rests. Okay, it supports your tool. All right, and that's it. And then this here is the bed of the lathe, or the old timers would call it the ways. But this is the bed of the lathe. All right. Any other questions before we go? Okay, right. So take the tailstock away, right, and we come across. And now I'm going to try and see if I can hollow a bit up. There. Okay. I'm using a bowl gouge. This is a, what is it, 8 mil. Okay. Bowl gouge. I can, where is it? Yeah, this is 1/2 inch. Right? But I can use it. But it works perfect. But I feel it's overkill. Yeah. Right? It's like using a 5-pound hammer to kill a fly. Right? But yeah, I quite like this. So there we go. Let me put that there. Right. Up the speed. There. Okay. Now. Yeah. Okay, now. Many instances, okay, depending on what you're doing and how big the vessel is that you're making, it is now prudent. Now, once it's straightened, okay, it's running through, the face is screwed up. Now is the time where you take a drill bit, okay, and you drill a depth hole. A depth hole, what it does is it takes away the center. Right? It's got two functions. When you're coming in here and you're finishing into a void, which is perfect. Right? But the other reason is that when you get down to the bottom end, now I normally take mine, depending on what I'm doing, a couple of millimeters short. I calculate, I look at this and I say, right, I need maybe 25 more. I'll make it about 22, 23 more. And the reason for that is that when I'm cutting and I get down to the bottom end of the drill mark, I know that I've got maybe 1 or maybe 2 cuts left to get to the depth that I want. I won't name his name, but yeah, we've got a member at the moment, and you'll forgive me for saying so. But in the beginning, he was known as the guy to go through the bottom, okay, of a bowl. It's just one of those things you must calculate. I did the same thing, not once, many times. As a matter of interest, I was doing it yesterday. I was practicing and I had the most amazing piece of jacaranda. And these tools, the carbide tools being new to me, I was concentrating so much on getting my tool presentation and everything right that I went through the bottom of the bowl. So yeah, it happens even to experienced people like myself. So yeah, it happens. Learn, move on. Right. So I've now done this. It's so small that I'm not going to do a depth hole, but it can be done. Here it is. There you are. My standard little one. Lives in my toolbox. Okay, there. And let me just, yes, I'll do that now. Let me just show you something. Right there. Okay. Now, slow down. Right. Up. There. Right, that's basically the process. And you put a little piece of tape. Right, this is the one I did the jacaranda yesterday. I put it in and I drill a hole up to the point. Now I know that by the time I get to the bottom mark, because I measured, I've got maybe 1 or 2 light cuts left to get a clean surface. Right? Okay. Yeah. Vice grip is a little bit. No. Wood turners are not adverse to using anything and everything. Okay. You just adapt and improvise. You can. There's nothing that stops you from doing that. I could have a chuck. Did I bring one? No, I didn't. No, I didn't bring it. Normally I have everything, barring my wife's handbag. But, yeah, you can. It's a very controlled way of doing that. But then you've got to put in your drill. You've got to tighten it. You've got to bring it up, you know. And, okay, when you're doing, like I did for a long time, production turning, okay, this is just much easier. It just goes quick. Right, you measure, put your tape, done, finished. Okay, so now, let's see, what are we going to do it? 1600 RPM. Okay, there. It's a bit high. Right, there. Right. Okay, now what I do many times, not always. In the beginning, I used to hollow predominantly going this way and downhill all the time. Okay? Now, it means that as the timber rotates, I'm cutting long grain, short grain all the time. Right? Okay? Because of the way the grain runs through the timber. What if we change our angle slightly and we do it this way? It's cutting far more efficiently. But why? Took me about, figured it. If I'm cutting this way, right? I've got straws running this way, and if I do this, cutting from this angle I'm going in, I'm cutting down on some of the grain if it comes through this end, and I'm cutting, okay, right? If I'm cutting from this end now, I'm cutting long grain most of the time. In actual fact, I would guarantee nearly 90% of the time, because except at the bottom here when I get here, right? Because the angle changes. But I'm cutting long grain. Hence the fact, and it cuts far more efficiently because I don't have the resistance of short grain going in. So if I do it this way, there. Right. Okay. Right, so we can do it. Right, so we're up to that point. Okay, now I want to do something and I want to, see, I put it there, different. It's just different to mine. Okay. Right, there's my room. And I come in. You know why that happened? No, it jumped. Why? No, I went in, okay, at an angle, right, and there was no bevel support. Right, so the moment that happens, the tool does what it likes. In this case, it normally goes this way. All right, so when you go in where you got there. See, now my bevel's rubbing. Okay, there. Okay, I can go, let's see, oh well, 2,800, 2.5, okay. Are you afraid I'm going to, no, I'm joking. Right, yeah, I'm now running at 2.4, okay. Cuts beautiful. Okay. 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 Right. She's more or less there. Okay, one more cut. Okay. And what you want to do, there, you can feel the wall thickness. This is the best calipers ever. Okay. Just feel it. It's nice. I've got a little bit of ridges. even though I try to get my swing as smooth as possible. But the slightest movement, it makes a ridge. Right, so we'll fix that now. Okay, so this is what I've got here. What I can do now, I'm going to leave that. I quite like it. I may mimic it on the other side. Was it my son or myself? We were cutting something with a grinder. And instead of touching the floor, we put a block underneath and we cut. And we had 2 marks running across from the grinder. So I thought, hell, I'll turn it away. But yeah, leave it. Doesn't matter. Okay, so up to this point. Okay, she's pretty good. I'm a little bit flat here. If I look at my curve, if I feel there, she's not bottoming out, but she's turning too quick. Right, my angle's not perfect. Now I can leave that. Let's do it this way. I can leave that, and I can use that one, or I can use, where's the other one? No, it's there. I had it, yeah. Okay, they're 2 scrapers. Okay, round nose and a half. But this one's got a counter angle, yeah. It's called a negative rake scraper. All right. Cuts beautiful. Okay. Again, I'm below center here. Right. It likes to turn any scraper. Okay. At center height. Right. But what I did in the beginning, right, is you put your tool rest, okay, slightly above center height, so that when you present your tool, you're actually doing it this way, right? In other words, don't ever, right, unless you're suicidal, okay? Who knows? Don't ever scrape like that. You can do it with a negative rake scraper, but you can't do it with this. That is a spectacular dig-in waiting to happen. You present slightly downhill. In other words, this one is level. Let's take it up. Okay. Yes. We'll have to ask the cameraman because you'll have to refocus. Shall we stop? Okay, come. Who are the strong guys? I plead age. Right. If you could just move that one slightly. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Whoa. There she goes. Okay. Okay, you take that end. Let me just check something. Oh, it's not that bad. Right. All right, just watch out for that extension. Right, happiness. Okay, it's out of the way. Lighting has changed. Lighting has changed. Right, okay. So, don't ever scrape uphill. Okay. You can use a negative and you can cut with it. It does all magic stuff. Okay. There's a guy in Cape Town. I watched his video the other day. He's a production turner called Willie Wilsonach. He did a little medallion using this, okay, but down there, scraper. And I did a double take and I thought, whoa. Then he explained, because of that, you've got rid of that dangerous edge. So when the timber comes in, it's still not meeting it 90 degrees on. You understand what I'm saying? There's room for it to move past, okay? Hence the fact, as long as that bevel rubs, okay, it's cutting. If you change the angle and you bring it here, and the bevel doesn't rub, same rules apply. Okay, spectacular. And whether it be spindle turning, whether it be bolt turning, scraping, cutting, whatever. Same with the carbide tools. If the bevel doesn't rub, if you have an unsupported cut, it's a dig in. That's a given. So if you're busy working and there's a dig in, just go back, analyze your moves, and you'll find out. And the most unforgiving tool of the lot is the skew chisel. If you're doing beads or the shallow cove or you're planing, okay, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to have the bevel rub. And a skew chisel lets you know very, very, very quickly and very emphatically, this is a no. And there goes your chisel. Okay? Just takes its own head. Skew chisel. I'll tell you, I brought one. Okay, now this, as you can see, this is older than I am. Okay? It was my dad's. My dad did some turning post the war. There was a health craze just after the war. People wanted to live longer, right, after the war. Understandable, it's a natural human reaction. And my dad and his brother made skipping ropes. Okay? And for years in our garage, we had this big wooden crate full of handles. Because they used to take the white plated rope, right, make a drill, cut the nice little, and then sold them to make extra bucks. Okay, so yeah. So this was in the garage for years, and I never knew what it was. And then when I started turning, okay, and I left it for years because I was too afraid to use it. Tried it, and wow. And then most people say, whoa, they back off, right? And then when you go to shows, I turned hobbyists and all those kind of places and demos like this, where I'm not engaging with the audience. I put between centers, I take it and I practice. Amazing tool to have. Most production turners will have a skew and a spindle gouge and maybe a roughing gouge. That's it. Between a spindle gouge, a skew, and a spindle gouge, the roughing gouge, and the skew, you can do anything. And all wood turning, not bolt turning, but spindle turning. Spindle turning is between centers, right? Where you make little balustrades and all that kind of stuff. Have a look next time you have a look at a leg or something like that, or a table leg or whatever. It's a combination of beads, coves, flats, and skews. V-cuts. Little V-cut, a flat, a cove, or a bead. Combinations thereof. A lotus, you've seen the lotus flower in a leg, right? Now what is that? That is a bead, right? Going into a cove, coming out with a skew cut. That's basically what a lotus is. It's just combinations thereof. And then before you have a transition from a bead, you have a little flat, sometimes only 2-3 millimeter, and then you go into your cove. Visually, it just gives you a transitional point, but it's not necessary because I've seen them where they go, right? So yeah, it depends on design. But that is basically spindle turning. It's a combination of. And the more proficient you get, like I said, Johnny Wilsonach, wow. No, he knows his stuff. He blows me. No, that guy, I'd like to be that. But yeah, okay, let's try this now. I'm going to go this one, slight. This is not a tool where you're going to push it in and dig in and then just take. You can. Well, it can remove stock, but not very nicely. Okay, not cleanly. So what you do is you present it ever so lightly. Yeah, you hear that? You hear that noise? If I take my hand away, can you hear that? Okay, now that's a very thin rim, and you're presenting a tool that doesn't really cut very cleanly. Okay, in the two words of cut, the scraping. So what I do, and what all turners do, is you support the rim. Again, if you smell pig burn, let go. Right. Okay, so there. And boy, oh boy, those harmonics, if that sets up in your room, and you have this little going around your room, you try to get rid of that with sandpaper or anything. Forget it, right? Best is to just cut clean. Saves you a lot of effort. Okay, let's see if we can get rid of that. Yeah, I'm nearly there. All right. And what is basically doing the cutting here is when you sharpen, you're raising a burr. You're raising a burr on the edge. And it's a burr that's doing the cutting. Yeah. Yeah. In cabinet making, a card scraper will do exactly the same. Right, so there. Get rid of the little nipple. There. Right. Okay. So there we have it. And now, in she goes. Okay. Now, when you can see, one, I'm moving, and two, you don't want to ruin this edge. I don't want it round. I want a nice, sharp edge. A swan neck? Hollower. Only for deep. This is a shallow little bowl. Okay? If I use, where's that little swan neck? This is for the people out there. This is what they're talking about. Okay? This fits in there, right? And now I must come in from this end. Okay? It scrapes. Okay? But this is for when I'm doing a deep hollow, right? If I want to get like, yeah, I want to cut around that corner, right? I can use that. I can use a swan neck to come around inside, because when you're using a straight tool, there's no ways you can get around the corner. It doesn't cut around the corner. If you're using one of the what's his name tools, the carbide tools, normally straight. Okay, but I have a tool. I must confess, I don't know. I just never thought of making myself a gooseneck for small stuff. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Okay, I made this. So I can't even remember when. Okay. The mother of what necessity is the mother, ne? Okay, I wanted to do something. This is the back end of a file, the tang of a file. Right? And I heated it up and I bent it. And this one, in there, was made with this. Okay, no expensive tools necessary, no expensive capital outlay or anything. Yes, it's nice to have some of this nice stuff, but it's not really necessary. You know, it depends on how. I don't spend money if I don't have to. Okay. Yes, deep hollowing. This is just for shallow stuff. Right. Look at this goose. Look at the neck. It's small. But if you're doing deep hollowing, right? We'll get to just something now where I thought. Just remind me that we discuss sharpening. Okay, because that is as paramount as anything else. I've seen some amazing stuff. Okay, what it is, when you're doing deep hollowing, you've got deep hollowing tools at the moment that are amazing. I personally have the Rolly Munro deep hollowing tool. It's a cup cutter that's sharp, and you have a little shroud that sits over, and you can adjust that to determine how aggressive your cut is. And it can go in and out. So what you're doing is when you're hollowing and you want to hollow out a vessel and it's down here and you're 250, 300 from the tool rest, okay, the forces are amazing. So you sit here and you hold it under your arm and you're going in from this end, right? Now that's where the skill and the practice comes in, because down there you can't see. It's all feel. So your wall thickness going all the way down is important. So you do, but that's where a gooseneck comes in. That's where it comes in very handy. And thank you for that question. But yes, on a normal shallow little bow like that, not necessary at all. Right. So I started sandpapering there. It's feeling pretty good. Where was I? Whoop. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Right. Take this away. Right. Okay. There. Slow it down. I don't think I need to take the draw. It's got some marks, but that can come out. Yeah, with a bit. Okay, where is that? Okay. Let's go to 320 as well. Okay. There you are. All right. Okay. There. Yeah. Okay. Right. So now. Okay. Nice sharp edge. Oh. This is very sharp. Okay. You can just touch it quickly, which cuts away, right? But if you want a very sharp edge, just be extremely aware that if you take it and you take away the sharp, you'll get a friction burn. But if it's like this and you touch it, it's a cut. Okay, so like I said, as long as your hand is behind or you're working from here, watch out what you're doing with your hands and your arm and that. Okay, because this thing cuts like a knife. Right, but that's it. That's basically it. Where's the key? That's it. That. Only thing to do is go deeper. It changes the shape and the feel of the bowl. Right? Hence the fact that I'll leave it. Okay. I may I'll keep that one and I'll make there, or I'll put cuts all the way around the rim. Well, no, it just proves that timber is resilient. Thank you. Yeah, pass it around. Yeah. Yeah. You make, the old adage of you're making a lemonade out of a lemon. You make a lemonade out of a lemon. Same thing. I do that quite a bit. I incorporate certain imperfections. Yeah. I know, yes, standard in the trade. If you have a dig-in or you're busy turning and there's there's an inclusion somewhere, right? And you have to now reassess. It's known as a necessitated design change. Okay. Right. You've got one idea and the timber decides by virtue of whatever, inclusion, crack, whatever the case may be, or even a dig-in. It's a necessitated design change. All right. Yes. Depends totally on what you're doing. If you're doing bowl turning, right? This is the standard. Okay, but there's a lady in America, Leslie Harworth. She turns with long ones. I mean, it's called a long and strong. Okay, she's This is what she does, right? More control. Okay, you don't want to hog the tool and hold it. Okay, give it room. And no gripping, just kill your hand. Yeah, it's only to keep it steady. That's all. Right. So, if I'm doing something small like this, that's enough. okay? Because there's no real big forces involved. But if I'm turning bigger, okay, when I'm turning to 300, okay, there's no ways, except for small detail on the side here, there's no ways I will turn with that. Okay, it's 2, 1, I can't reach, 2, there's not enough cantilever control. Yeah, I mean, by yourself, if I, with the tungsten, the carbide tools, yeah, I did an experiment when I started just to get over this, hey, whoa, brand new tools. If you present it as a scraper, carbide tools, okay, straight in, right? You get grain, fine. You get grain tear out, okay? But the moment you present it as a cutting tool, right? You can see here, there, those beads, they were all done in a cutting presentation. It's the angle of presentation. It's angle of presentation and the rotation. No, yes, no, but I'll do that for you just now. Okay, later on, we'll play around with this and I'll show you how you present and. But yeah, you can have a look at this. This center one, that was pure scraping. All right. Okay. Nice. Clever. Okay, let me explain to you. It's called, no, it's not a necessitated design change. It's called rechucking. Okay, now there are different methodologies in which you use, okay, depending on the size. These, okay, this one, okay, and this one, right, were all, I just expanded. I take a big enough chuck. See, this, you get bigger jaws, this here, and you expand into the recess, right, which then presents your bowl this way. So you're actually using that recess to your advantage. And you turn away the base. You turn away that little spigot that you formed. That's why I went in. Right. Okay. So that, okay. Good question, but also that's what I started with. Right? So what you do is this. You take a faceplate. You mount a piece of timber. Right? And you turn the recess. Now normally at a slight 5 degrees, maybe around about there, just off, square on. And you test all the time. It was this one. I did exactly that, right? I turned and I kept on because I did it and I turned away this year, not thinking. So all I did is I took a piece of superwood. No, it doesn't. You take the timber. You put the timber on there. Okay? You turn a ring. Just a ring. Okay? On. And the ring, because it's at an angle, what you do is you touch until, or you can measure and then put the calipers there and more or less that size. Now when you're cutting in, right, and this is where this little jobby comes in very handy. My little round parting tool. When I get to that stage, I touch ever so slightly, but I do it at a slight camber. So when it fits in the front, it's not jamming all. It's called a jam fit chuck, right? So you fit it on, it fits, but it doesn't register at the back. So it will hold, but it does that. So what you do is ever so, this is where extremely gentle touch. You just touch it. You present it, it fits, and you go. Okay, and you bang it on. And now the timber, the whole construction just tightens. If it's a big bowl, you can do the same, but you do the reverse. You take it and you make a hollow so that the rim of the bowl, now it's not on the, okay, it goes the other way around. So now when you put your bowl in, it compresses the bowl, that edge, millimeter, maybe less, right? But it's enough to hold. So much so, okay? I've, on numerous occasions, used the jam foot. You jam it in, right? You turn the foot off, and you finish it, sandpaper, everything else, okay? And now, how do you get it out? It doesn't want to because you can bang, it's round, it's smooth. You can't get it out. Only thing is to take it off, the faceplate off, drill a hole at the back, take a little rod, and hope to God that you don't mark the bottom end of your bowl, and just slight bang, choops, it pops out. Okay, that's how secure. And the old timers didn't have. So what did they do? They made a jam foot chuck. They turned the foot of the bowl. Right? They made a jam foot. The Japanese, go and have a look at Japanese turning. The Japanese still today use jam foot chucks to, if they want to hollow. They tap it in, it sits securely. They do all the hollowing, everything else, and out it comes. Whoa, just repeat that question for me. Yes. The circle one with the wheels on the inside. No. Yeah, just to rephrase it. It makes sense because at the moment, the ones with the wheels. Sorry, my apologies there, but it's a bit vague. Okay, I'm trying to make. Okay, you're talking about a steady. Right. What was the question again? Now that we've. Okay, yes. Okay. That is when you're working. Okay. When you're working between centers and you do some work, okay? If it's just a spindle, you work between centers, you do the whole thing. If part of you say, thank you very much, it's done. There's your balustrade or whatever it is, or table leg. But sometimes they want to do deep hollowing or they want to drill, right? And you can't use this. You can't use the tailstock. So how do you support the moment you just touch, okay, with a feather touch, this thing goes out of kilter because you're holding it with the chuck. Right, so you're grabbing onto it, right? Normally the chuck is as big as it can go, and it's as much force as you can. Now you're standing here and you want to hollow, or you want to drill, or whatever it is. The steady's got normally 3 supports at 120 degrees each, and they got little wheels. Okay. It's got a very important function because that stops it from going out of center, right? And then just doing its own thing. Yes, any turner, I've got one, okay? But they're all specific to your lathe because that, from there to the bed, determines which one your swing, determines which one you bend or make. I've got to now make one for my Vodkin because I've got a 10-inch swing. And my one that I've got is for a smaller lathe. So I have to now make myself, or I must put blocks in. And I don't want to do that. So I've got to engineer one where it's big enough so I can. And yes, it works like a charm. Very, very necessary if you're working far off. If you're working far off your chuck, it's very necessary. Okay. If you have some of the big pepper grinders, okay, around about 350, say 450, right? I will use a steady, right? Because although you can try and get away by putting a big tenon on it, using a lot of force, and then because this, right, is when you put your drill bit and your chuck in here, right, the forces are in line with the bed, okay, and with the way of travel. So the fact that it can knock off, right, is limited. It's diminished. But it's still no guarantee that she can't drift, right? Because the one that needs a knot in the timber or whatever the case may be, she can drift. So to prevent that after spending so much time, okay, just a steady, get it to run through, take away the tailstock, right? And then start to draw. Or use it with a tailstock. You can use a spade, fastener, preferable, okay, with an extension. On a 450, you'll have to use an extension. And then on that, I would draw from both ends. Yeah, meet in the middle, okay? Like most marriages, you meet in the middle. Right, okay, it's all negotiation. Yes, okay, anything else? How would I? Easy. Where's the faceplate? Put it down. There's my block. Put it down. Put that down. There's my center point. I eyeball it. Right there. Chip screws. But not screws that go nearly all the way there. Right? Because you don't want to leave drill holes, screw holes. Okay. They're terrible. You never hide them. Forget it. Okay, I've tried it. Trust me. Okay, so you don't. Short little screws. And in the beginning, when you're roughing out and you're afraid that the small little screws will not hold, bring up your tail center for support. Because then she's secured. Now you can go, ape, do your thing, okay. And when it's all running smooth and you're starting fine cuts and all the rest of it, take a tailstock away. It's a nice way. I start most of my small stuff in that. With a small little, my small lathe has a, what is it? I think a 60 or 70 millimeter little faceplate, that size. Perfect for everything. And another tip, these, right? How do I turned it, right? But how do I hold this? Because I don't want to hold here, okay, because it's not 100% round. Now I've got to put a faceplate, right? Screw it in. Then I've got to turn the outside. Then I've got to turn it around, okay? Then I've got to hold here with a chuck if I've got one big enough, right? And do the hollowing. So what I do is I take a faceplate and I take a hot air gun. Where's the faceplate? Yeah. I take a hot air gun, and because it's so small, I'll heat it up. And I take hot melt glue. And I put hot melt glue on, not over the holes, but 1, 2, 3 blobs of hot melt. Keep it hot, and I take the timber, and I warm up the timber. The reason for that is that it holds better. If the timber, don't heat it until it burns, just warm, all right? Because the glue then holds better. Otherwise, she tells the moment she gets into contact with something cold. So the hold, but you can do double-sided tape. But what I find with double-sided tape is it's spongy. So you get slight harmonics. Okay? What? With the glue? Well, I've still got everything, and I've done this one, and I've done this one, and I've done that one, and yeah, it holds enough. Provided you don't have a dig-in, it doesn't like a knock, right? But yeah, in general, hell, no problem whatsoever. Okay. Pardon? Yeah, easy. Okay. I turn it upside down. Okay, there it is. I got my work on there, right? And I'm so proud of it because, man, I did something with that digging. Okay, and it's actually something I can give to my mother-in-law. All right. So I just take it and I stand here and I warmed up this one. And I've got a very thin blade paint scraper. Take a towel, hold it, heat up the paint scraper as well. Off she comes. Now comes the interesting part. Okay, I've got this one. And now I've held here and I've done all this and I've made sure that that fits and everything else. And I take it off. I got glue right? But that's intentional, because what I want to do now is I hold it, I put it in 100 mm jaws, like that. Okay, I expand ever so slightly, just enough to hold. Okay, and I then face this one. Okay, normally it's a little bit thicker than what I want, so I put this one on. It looks balanced. It's not too thick, it's not too heavy for the little bowl. Okay, could have been maybe a fraction thinner, but that's it. That's what I want. Flat, put it, and I finished. Glue gone, problem solved. Sandpaper, get it down to 400 or 360 grit, and that's it. Okay. This one, exactly the same. Okay. Now, how did I hold that? Because I don't have a jaw big enough for that. Okay. How did I turn that? Faceplate, piece of superwood, a little ridge in there. Okay. Very careful. With a taper going in, right? Put it in, bang it. This is 25 mm thick piece of oak. Bang it in, check if she's not running true, tap, 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 tap until she runs true, right? Or that she registers against there, which is preferable, right? And continue, turn it away. When I'm finished, okay, I took a very thin blade scraper, put it in here, she pops out. There, everything done. Okay. So yeah, there's just methodology. That's all it is. What you do. And also, you know, I've been at the game now for more than 35 years. Okay, I've learned one or two things. Okay, you only pick it up through actually making the mistakes and learning and scratching your head and how am I going to do this? And how am I going to do? Or pick up the phone. Hey, but or pop WhatsApp today. Okay, nobody talks anymore. Everybody WhatsApps. But yeah, WhatsApp. Hey, but here's a photograph. What the hell do I do now? What do you want to do? I want to do, okay. May I suggest the following? That kind of stuff. And you know, like anything in life, get a differing opinion. So you talk to me, and I'll say, oh, you know what, I'll do it this way. And then you talk to Gert down there, and Gert says, nah, he's crazy. Okay, do it this way. Okay. Doctors are the same. But, you know, the doctors, the only profession that buries their mistakes. Huh?
Just in terms of with moisture, and we spoke about the earlier.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, obviously most of the lumber we buy is full grind on that. Or, you know, what's the ideal sort of moisture range?
Oh, that is an extremely interesting question, and one that is going to take a long time to answer. Because timber is dynamic, right? And timber always looks for equilibrium, moisture content, equilibrium with the atmosphere. So if you go down into the pharaohs, nobody got ever buried in a pyramid. Huh? You know that. They've never found any mummy in a pyramid. But anyway, you go down. Okay, and down there for the past 3,000 years is a mummy. And it had its esophagus and all the rest of it. Okay, there was a chariot and everything else. That timber is bone dry. Okay, because it wasn't exposed to moisture. And the moisture will escape until it gets to the point where it's equilibrium within the atmosphere. Now you bring it outside. Right? If they don't stabilize that timber, okay, it will start cracking and falling apart because now if it's rainy, okay, in a rainy atmosphere, the timber takes on moisture and start. That's why your kitchen cupboards in a rainy season, you can't open them or your doors jam. Why? It's got layers of paint on top of it, okay, and now you can't open your door because the timber swells up. It seeks equilibrium with the atmosphere. Right, so a lot of people in inclement climates, America, England, all over Canada, when they're doing cabinet making or they're turning or anything, they bring in the timber into the house. They work in the workshop, but they bring it inside the house, air conditioning, central heating, all the rest of it, to acclimatize before they work it. Because if it's outside and it's in the workshop and it's wet and cold and all the rest of it, by the time they finish making the furniture and they bring it indoors, right, it cracks. I had a furniture company years ago, and customer bought a very expensive boardroom table in from Neisner area, Yellowwood, Blackwood. Remember the fashion? Massive 12-seater, da. And we delivered in Parktown somewhere. Great. No problem. A couple of months later, nearly a year later, customer phones me. The table is starting to crack. I say, that's strange, but let me come and have a look. No, not in Parktown anymore. We moved. I say, really, where to? He says, no, we're in the Carlton Center. I said, yes, okay, let me come and have a look. And what happens is, it's an air-conditioned building. Right? Now, the timber was 100% stable outside because it moves. It was okay in this environment versus the coast. So it acclimatized and it was stable. But going into a building where air conditioning, it sucked the life out of the table. Right? And the table just went, and the joints went, started to open up. Why? Because wood seeks equilibrium. Okay. Remember I said, what you do, turn it, leave a thick wall. There is a calculation, all right? Then what you do is you put it in a box with shavings, and you leave it. And then in this heat, every week or every 2 weeks, you take it out and you weigh it. You note the first. And the moment she stabilizes, you return. Okay, because now all the moisture is evaporated. It's got this little microclimate inside the box, and it reaches equilibrium. Okay, now you turn it, stay stable. Yeah, just the outside and to get shape, right? Okay, and you leave enough because remember, some timbers will go rather ovoid. So what you have to do is you leave a mark like that on your spigot, right? So that you get your center. You got a big board, right? And because it goes, if you go to Ronald Kanner, Dutch turner, okay? He's got a little contraption, faceplate, superwood, with 2 strips down the side. Round, but 2 strips down the side, yeah. The center, there's nothing there. Why? Because it turns boat shape. So if you put in a piece of flat timber, it never gets. So if you leave the center away, that falls in, and you've got enough hold. Then he returns the spigot, to be true. Right? Then takes the outside, if you want to, you can turn the outside, right? Then rechuck. You've got a true chuck, true outside, everything's true again. And then you're hollow. Now you've got a bowl that's stable and dry. Okay. A little bit more involved. Or if you're okay, Jack, I've turned many times where it was not wet, but moisture content above. And the movement is not that radical. That's why I like it. Okay, it turns like butter. Beautiful stuff to turn. Love it. Takes a good stain, good finish, good everything. Yep. Okay. Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here comes my part. Okay. We're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to use the carbide tools. All right. Okay. Okay. I spoke to Brendan. This is a live, and it's just got a very sharp. Okay. In certain instances, like yeah, now if I turn this, okay, I can use it. Right. But when you get to spindle turning, if you wind this one up, it forces into the timber, and there's nothing stopping it. Timber cracks. and you're busy turning, and the next moment you hear this rattle, and you stop it and you look, the timber split. And this doesn't hold anymore. Okay, so the clever people, far smarter than myself, they came up with that. Okay, so what that does, okay, goes in, this holds, okay, and the moment the tip has gone in deep enough, it's up against this very sharp little ridge here, and that stops the timber from going in, or from the point going in deeper, right, and has now got a better hold because it's around. It's not going to split the timber, it can't. Right, so this is actually far nicer. I like it. Yes, I've got these at home. I got them because they got their space. Okay, but that's more for engineering, am I right? Yeah. Right, so here we go. Now, I don't by any means profess to be as proficient with using carbide tools, okay, because like I said, I shoot them thinking, it's scraping. But after watching the videos, I must say, if you watch Glenn and Liza, that man does magic with these tools. Okay. Because I think there's a space for it in every toolbox, in every woodturner's arsenal. There's stuff that you can do. Where am I? Did I get the center? Yes, I did. Okay, let me do it this way around. I think that is the center one. That's the one that's off. So let's see. Ooh. Okay. That's the only thing I don't like about doing it like I'm doing it now. Okay? Because that's why I like a faceplate. It just registers so much easier. It's on, it runs through immediately. Right. Okay, so now we're going to start. When you start with carbide tools, you get carbide goosenecks and all the rest of it, like the lady asked. But where am I? Okay, let's pack that away. I had them here. Yeah. Okay. You got 3. I was looking for the other one earlier. Can't find it. It was, yeah, but it disappears. Like I said, woodturning is amazing. It makes things disappear. Okay. There's a square roughing. There's a round hollowing and detailing. And then you have one with a sharp point. There. Nope, sorry. Where is it? That's a square. There's another one with a sharp little point. It's called a detailing. It's here somewhere. No, I can't find it now, for the love of me. Okay. Nope. I'm not going to use it, so, but it's the one with a sharp little point. Okay. Normally 30 degree. Sharp little point for detailing work. Those are the 3. And then, of course, the gooseneck and so forth. And I shoot in the beginning, and I'm thinking now, as an introduction to wood turning, I'm going to purchase a set so that I can get my students to get a more, less frightening introduction into the art of wood turning, okay, or the craft. There's a debate about that one. But yeah, the craft of wood turning, less intimidating, because to get a chisel and then to stand with this thing and your ass from your, excuse my French, but your ass from your elbow. You don't know what the hell's going on, and it's very intimidating, right? And even with me teaching or any person teaching, that student goes home and he's now got to remember a tremendous amount, or she has to remember a tremendous amount of information. And you present wrong and you get dickens, and then the fear sets in even worse. And okay, this is a very easier. I watch videos where the guys just go in straight and turn. Finish is not so good, right? But it can be done. You get grain tear out. It's just one of those things. But it's less intimidating. I can get a student, I think we can do, and we can actually make a little bowl in the first lesson, which is quite nice, right? Because normally with traditional, what I do is to get people, I do spindle turning first. And I teach them the roughing gouge and the spindle gouge, right? Because that's the basis of wood turning. Okay, and then once they can master that and they practice and practice and practice, I've got a student now that has started off and he's now taken to it like a duck to water. Made the most amazing stuff so far. But he's committed. He turns virtually every day, which is good because now they practice, repeat. And I'd like to see his work when we meet next Saturday. Right? So yes. But yeah, this is quite amazing tools. But if you present it differently to flat on presenting, scraping, okay, it cuts quite nice. Okay, have a look at Glenn and Liza, UK. They're wood turners. He's a professional wood turner, and he proposes to be the originator of this. Works it like a champ. Man, he does nice work. Yes, every turning chisel, wood turning, it's all about angle presentation, bevel rubbing. That's it. Okay, right. Bevel not rubbing, okay. Wow, spectacular diggings. Okay, angle presentation not right, either cuts too much or cuts too little. That's it. Yes, 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 yes. That's why it's not so intimidating. Right, okay, so there. I turn it. Okay, again, I'm not going to come in from this end because I'm cutting longer and so on. Okay, I get chattered and all kinds of stuff. Okay, but now, this I can do with a normal gouge. I can get away with that speed, okay? Not this stuff. I did it in the beginning and I'm battling and I can't cut and I'm thinking, man, let me go back to the University of YouTube. So I go and I look at it and I look at it and eventually I think, whoa. I come across Glenn's videos and I think, see, creator works in mysterious ways. And he said to me, yeah, look at this. He says, you turn. About 1800 RPM. Okay. Now, if you go slow, it doesn't cut so lacquer. But at this speed, right now, what's important, if you go in, let me stop this. Okay, when I start, you see I'm cutting above, right? It's above center. Now, if you put it in, she's above center, she runs this way, below center, she runs that way. She just, the tool goes. That's why it's imperative that you always cut, okay, at center height, okay, with this tool, okay, right, there. Now, if I do what everybody else does, okay, I can do it this way. Cut, right, great. But that's in scraping mode. Okay, she just scrapes. Whereas, if I drop it ever so slightly, right, and now I up my tool, okay, come on, let me just get it right. Like I said, I'm a newbie to this. Okay, let me see. Uh-uh. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay. Come on. Come on. No, I'm trying to get it there. Okay. All right. By the way, it generates a lot of heat. Man, this thing is hot. Right. So that's round. There's not much grain tear out, even on the cross. That's quite nice. Come and have a look at this. This is quite nice. I'm nogal proud of myself. Okay, look at this here. You can hardly have any grain tear out. Yeah, because of the angle of presentation. No, it's not a gouge. I'm cutting it. Okay, I get the bevel to rub. Okay, and then I proceed, and because of the angle that I'm going in, right? See, this one is different. This is too sharp. It should actually be a bit back, a bit more, so that you can get a nicer. But yeah, I'll get proficient at this if I just keep on practicing, because as you go, you'll find out this. Okay, but yes, you can buy them, and you know what's nice about this too. You can buy a whole set, okay, of the 3 tools, okay, for the same price or less than you can pay for one big bowl gouge. Okay, it's much cheaper. And once you've got it, okay, you can replace the tips eventually. But what's nice is, like for instance, the square one, it's got four. You can change that 4 times before you have to sharpen. And then you can sharpen it by taking a diamond stone. Where is my diamond? Yeah. Okay. There's a diamond, a little bit of lubricant. Okay. And all you do is you just sharpen it. It will never be the same, by the way. When you resharpen yourself, it will never be as sharp as the original. All right. I'm working slightly, but ever so slightly above center. Just above center. Now, if you're scraping, it's imperative that you use on center, right? Okay, or even fractional. But then again, you've got to bring your tool up to cut, right? Never ever go below center. Never. Okay. That is a digging of note wanting to happen, because then what happens is the grain is here, I'm digging in here, and this whole piece just pops off because it's got to go somewhere. Okay. Now either up, it will throw you up, and then this piece will go either that way or this way, or yeah. Okay. So you keep your. Okay. This is what I'm talking about what I saw. This one. Yeah, okay, right. Okay. It's more or less, if you turn aluminium with a cup, it's more or less the same thing. I think if you look at it, I think it's an aluminium cutting tool. Yeah, well, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff coming out now. When something new comes out, there's always guys that start experimenting and looking at it and saying, but whoa, can I, can't I, will this work, won't this work? The diamond, it's just, you get them in different grids. Yeah, yeah. That's what makes it so cheap to maintain. You can sharpen, sharpen, sharpen. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got lot of, and it cuts on the side, it cuts this side of the center, that kind of stuff. So it's quite versatile little tool. Yeah. No, you'll never. Okay. Pardon? Oh, no, no, no. Okay. Whoa. Okay. This is, you see, thank you for that. Thank you for that, John. Right. See, age. Here we go. Okay. Why? Because I'm a gentleman, I'm not going to look at her. You see? Right. No, I'm careful. Okay. Now, I've been married for 50 years, so hey, you learn. Yeah, no, no. Yeah, yeah, I mean, thank you. Um, is that a compliment? No, no. That's a left-handed compliment. Okay. Let me, yeah, no, we won't. Um, this. Yeah, let's keep it serious. Okay. It's plastic, okay, but carbon. It's light, it's very strong. But look at this. Now, hell, I've got one here that just not the same thing, right? Look at this, okay? Now you can take this off. It's got a collet, right? A collet chuck, engineering, runs true like you have no idea. Yeah, forget about a chuck, but this runs true on a more taper. Engineering, you can't wish for better. But this one holds, and there's my round, there's my square. Okay, and there is one here somewhere with the detailing tool in it. Right. Lightweight, strong, beautiful. And if I buy myself, which I'm going to, okay, I'll just have to ask Father Christmas for something. Pardon? Thank you. Now, if this is the first time I'm exposed to wood turning, okay, I would go for something like this. Okay? Like I said, my first exposure to wood turning was at high school. I still have the bowl, by the way. Okay? I was a terrible turner though. Okay? Not a bad cabinet making, shit. All our joints were hand planed, okay, joined the block up, and we had to make it to a template. Then my dad, and then later on I had a furniture company where I wanted to turn legs. And I went and I bought a lathe and I bought a copy attachment. Knew nothing. Here, okay? And then I went to somebody to teach me the basics on the copying side. Then, the Association of Wood Turners of Great Britain had just started then, okay, 80 something. And I bought one of the woodworking magazines and I saw these most amazing bowls. And something just went off me and I said, wow, I want to do that. So I went to Hardware Center. They were still down there in Main Street. Okay, I went to Hardware Center and I said, I want to turn. And they said, yeah, okay, you need this tool and you need that tool. And I bought. Went home. What now? Didn't have a clue what to do. And then I went back to the next meeting and I stood up and I said, is there anybody here that can teach? And one guy said, there. And it was a guy called Peter Middleton. Still alive, still works here. Carlswold. Very proficient turner. Engineering guy. Beautiful human being. And Peter, in his ever so careful way, patient, beyond, okay? Dom. Okay, face facts, okay? That's why I do wood turning, okay? Peter came along and took me, and he said, right, this is how you present this. You get two sets of tools. You get spindle tools, you get bolt turning tools, okay? And you don't use the one, if you can help it, you don't cross, Okay, bolt turning is bolt turning, spindle turning. Yes, the parting tool and that you can. But I've seen guys use the roughing gouge on a big blank to do a bowl. That is trouble with a big T, okay? Because you don't use an aggressive tool like that, okay, on a big piece of timber. It's for between centers. And I learned from Peter. And he was ever so patient, and I spent hours there. And then I said, okay, and I went home and I started. And it just went from there. And then I did 1 or 2 courses here and there, you know, and so forth and so forth. And you grow. But yeah, if I have to start today, that's the nicest introduction to wood turning possible. And even then, when you into the basics of it, start with what Glenn, change your presentation. Start cutting as opposed to scraping. And then your wood turning just goes, your finishing just goes. Okay? Because if you become proficient with this, you can take one tool and do virtually everything with one tool. Okay? Right. I won't turn a big bulb with this. It's too small. There's one that fell earlier. There. That's 15 mil. Same thing. Okay. Right. This is what I will do if I do big stuff, bowls and that. Okay. But yeah, it's a beautiful system. If you want to find out from Brendan and them, or my young gentleman there, they'll tell you the price for the system. Okay, just check for me, please. All right. Okay. So, let's see. You know what would be nice? If you're an engineering guy. Okay? Oh, yes. Something else that I can just tell you. Just as I was doing this, jogged my memory. You got this quick release lever and you got your lock. Okay. I teach one this side, this one, always that way. Why? Because some of them are long. Now you're sitting here and you got these two here. And the one can't lock and the other one here. Okay? Just, it becomes second nature. When I adjust, the one goes this way, stays there. And I adjust here. They don't interfere. Just makes your life easier. Okay? Just remember that. If I had, I would put a ring with a bit of, just a butterfly nut. Okay? Just stick it, because when you readjust all the time, okay, if you're changing to get the same height again, it just makes it easier. Only for this application, for these tools. For the rest, it's not really necessary. Okay, but it's just something that I thought, hell, that'll be nice. Okay, let's see. Put down. Let's see. Aha! Why the screech? Do you know why? I'm picking up harmonics. Why? Because it's a thin tool, okay, and I'm turning too far over. Okay. It likes to be close to the work. Right. Now listen to the difference. Yo-ho! I'm cutting, but I can tell you now that is not the most efficient way of cutting. Okay. Okay. What makes me think that I'm cutting wrong? Because I'm picking up chatter. The chatter tells me that my presentation is wrong. Okay. Although I must say, hell. Okay. I'm lucky. Right. But yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay, let's be adventurous. Let's be adventurous. I want to buy this one. Okay. I want to buy the long one. And I want to have not the thicker, just the thinner one. Okay, this one, that one, and the pointy one. Okay. How much? That one. Okay. Big handle, right? Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, don't worry. Hey, I tell you what. Hey, guess what? Hey, by the way, he's the first guy that ever fell for me. The big handle, right, and the three tools that fit. The three tools, the round tool, square, and the pointy one. Yeah, this one. Don't need bigger. Yeah, one handle. Yeah, okay. Okay. The bigger shaft. Yes, now we're getting into some serious stuff. The bigger shaft. Okay. Watch. The round one with 15 mil. Okay. Right. One. A bigger tip. This one, yeah. You can put in there a square. Or there's a little, yeah, look. There's a triangular one, which is quite nice because it's got, yes, that's damn clever. All right. So there we have it. It's quite nice. Okay, and this one, if you have a look at this one, it's got a slight little, that takes the diamond. So the diamond tool fits in the one side and the other side's exposed. So, well,
No, I don't think it does take. Maybe it does take a W group, just like a triangle.
yeah, no, it's got that one there, but I just passed it around. But this one is the long one, the little diamond shaped one. Fits in there. Okay. Yeah, the diamond fits in there. Not that other little half round one. This one. See? Yeah, there, diamond shaped cutter. Okay. But yeah, interesting. Okay. Right, let me just take a swallow. It's harde werk hier. Okay. Where's that one? There. All right, let's go. Yes. Tonight I'll know. Sure. Tonight, I can tell you now. Tonight, phew, because Kiat is not the nicest timber. So where is that? There. Right. Let's do that now. Let me just stop that. I hope the people there can see, huh? Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't. I can't. Okay. If you buy that, okay, that's about 1,000 something odd rand. Now you've got to buy 3. So yeah. Yeah, and you got to get a grinder, right stone. So yes. Oh shit. Yeah, that's something that we must talk about. Okay? When you are, depends on what you buy. If you buy the carbide we discussed, right? It's a diamond plate, okay, flat down, face down, and you sharpen. Okay, the finer the grit, actually, the better. Okay, but if you buy traditional turning tools, the whole idea, okay, is that when you sharpen, you'll see all my tools. Okay, all of them. Okay, let me give you 3 different ones. Okay, they all got one bevel. Doesn't look like a diamond. Okay. When you sharpen, no, not the same angle. That from there, around there, is one bevel. It's not faceted. Right. That from there, all the way around. From there, both sides, flat. Scraper. Where's my scraper? Yeah. Okay. There's one bevel. Okay. The reason for that, it just makes for more proficient. Because if you, I've seen guys come to the club and they bring me their chisels. Man, and it's got, okay. Now you're busy cutting, yeah, then the angle changes. So now it doesn't cut. Because you now got to change it. So if you have to accommodate all the, you'll have to do this all the time to get your chisel to cut. Because you have to follow the bevel, right? Hence the fact that when you sharpen, right, sharpen all my tools, you can come and have a look. They got one bevel. Important, all right? So when you sharpen, and apart from the technique of turning, the most important thing after that, okay, bevel rub and your angle of presentation, sharpening. You cannot work with blunt tools. Okay, right.
And I mean, you a similar trick like you have a plain blade, say within sharp, it has to be razor sharp. You can shave some difference.
Okay, I use a grinder. And because high-speed steel likes aluminium oxide, the white wheel. Okay, yes, the white one. Okay, aluminium oxide. 80 grit. 60, a little bit rough, 80 grit. My system runs on 80 grit. I got a 60 grit on the one side because that's for shaping. It's more aggressive. Okay, but if you go this, that's sharpened with the 80 grit. Okay, it's becoming difficult to get the right wheels, but yes, aluminium oxide is the wheel of choice. Okay. No, you should know, right? That the harder the metal, the softer the stone, right? I mean, if you sharpen carbide tools, yes, it's nearly, when you finish shaping, okay, your wheel is nearly finished. Toomph. It's soft. It's a green wheel. It's a green wheel and it's very soft. And the harder, the ones that you get generally when you buy, the gray wheel, okay, that's a general style, but it's hard. That does nothing for carbide. So the best one I found is if I just want to do something, okay, I use the other grinder, okay, and it's got a gray stone on it, and I'm happy with that, okay. But for turning, whether it be, this is bowler steel. K102 or 201 or something. Okay, it's a very nice one. It works like when you shape it, right? It's mild steel. You can grind it, drill it, do whatever you want to. Then you take it back to them and you ask them to harden to Rockwell 63. Thank you. This is this is old. Okay, lasts forever. Okay, cuts, holds a nice edge, everything, right? So yeah, this is also K 102, 120, whatever. I can't remember. Yeah. Years ago, they and I stand. I went there and I said to the guy, "This is what I want to do." And yes, I know. The guy told me very quickly. He said to me, "Wood." Yes. I said, "Right." And that's what you do. And then you bring it back to me, and we make it Rockwell 63. And I said, "Why 63?" And he said, "Because that's nice. It's not too brittle. It's not brittle, and it's not too soft. It's just for what you want to do." So I said, "Okay." So yeah, that's it. Okay. Right. Let's see if I can make some shavings. Let me take that one. Hey, just check my toolbox before I leave. Huh? All right, let's go. By the way, safety. I alluded to it earlier. No loose, no loose bangles, loose clothing, anything like that. Uh, I prefer short. Okay, it's just nicer. Yeah, no loose strings and hoodies and all kinds of stuff. And then respirator. Okay, if you can, full face with a little fan. I had one, and I moved, and it disappeared. I think the movers stole it because they thought it was something interesting. I had the most amazing full face with a little fan at the back here, pipe coming up, the whole lot disappeared. Now, hell, it's expensive to replace now. Okay, very expensive. So I work with a full respirator. Okay, one for particle, dust, imperative. I'm doing without. You can hear my voice already. Um, I work with the respirator. And I've now come up with a brilliant idea. Um, I've got a system. I've got two fish tank pumps, air pumps, running through. My brother's got a medical chemical company. I get auto water from him. Comes in, goes through the water, right? And I got clean air coming into my respirator. I made an adapter. So I get clean air all the time. That is imperative, okay? Not minimum. The minimum, okay, would be a face mask, okay? Not the stuff that we used for COVID, possibly, okay? That was a joke, okay? That was a hoax, total out and out. But anyway, we won't go and talk that. But yes, minimum, a full face mask, just a mask, okay, with a particle filter, and it's imperative. Okay, just bear that in mind because some of these timbers, like yacht, ooh, tonight, even my cat won't recognize me when I say kitty cat because my voice will change. Okay. I quite like this. I must say this. Damn it. I quite like it. Ooh. Right. One. What about it? I can use it now. Yes. The problem is I can't find it. I was looking for it earlier. When we started, I was here early. And we were here, and Brandon and I said, and he said, just this. And I said, okay, great. And then before you guys came, I said, told you, wood turning is crazy. It makes things disappear. Okay? Okay, there's my. Okay, and now where's that little one? Shit, I just had it, yeah. Come on. See? There you are. Okay. Now the pointy tool will come in handy here, but I don't have a pointy tool, so go back to standard. Aye. Come on. A bit more. Yeah. Okay, we'll fix that up later. Okay, that's it. All bar. Hey, see, told you. Switch off. Where's my sandpaper? Somewhere. Okay, let's do this. 320. Okay, here it is. Okay, 150. Right. You know what's nice about this demoing? Huh? Look at all this and I don't have to clean up. Shit. Man, that's nice. Okay. And you know, one thing I can tell you now. If you don't like dust, okay, don't do woodwork. Okay. How God puts all this into a small little thing like that, only He knows. I don't. Okay. That's an amazing feat. But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, wood turning. Nice. Yeah. See, I move all the time, right? I have to. I have to move all the time. Otherwise, you get concentric rings and you don't want all that. Okay, 320. Right. There you are. Okay. That should be big enough of a. Okay, let's take a chance. Come on, let's be adventurous. Huh? For once in your life, let's be adventurous. If it blows, well, I'm not in the firing line. You are. Okay. You're in the fire. Where's the little square tool? Ah. Oh shit. That tool is absolutely pointless. Okay. Right. These are nice tools. Love them. All right, there. Okay. Right. Okay, so whilst I set up the chuck and all the rest of it. Right. Now, hoopla. Right. There's my goofty. Ah, hold on to it. Jordan, you must be bored out of your mind. You know, if you sat there looking at me talking for a couple of hours, I mean, you know, the guy says, geez, when is this going to end? True. Yes. I never said that. Hey, I never said that. Yeah, Bunny, most amazing human being. Most amazing human being. Right. Okay. Okay, I got the message. I don't want me to turn anymore. Okay, guys, thank you very much for coming. Come on. Give a guy a break, man. My chest is taking a beating.
I've seen some guys have like an extraction.
Yeah. But if I have the extraction going, yeah, right? These guys they won't hear a thing that I'm talking about.
Shop, you actually have some extractions or just the
Mask. Okay, I've got an extraction, right? But I find okay, I find that to be interferes. I tried it, okay. I'd rather just wear a mask and then blow off and clean up afterwards. He's being rude. Yes. No, jokes aside. I use a round. Oh, you don't care. Okay, now try this for size. No, jokes aside. I use a round one, yes. And then I decided to make the spigot slightly deeper, right? And I used this weird little W tool that he calls it. Yeah. Yeah. What? The W. Okay. There. Okay. Just in case. Hey, just in case you're blind, there's a big one. Okay. There's a small one. Yeah. Why I say big one? There's a small one. He called it. Hey. He called it a W. I'm under correction here. Yeah, that's a 12 mil. This is you can buy the small little handle. Yeah. Look. There's a small little one. Yeah, you can put it on. Oh, here's the detailing tool. There. Right, there. Oh, we're breaking apart here. Okay. Poor people online. They must be bored out of their mind. All right. Okay, guys. There's that little jobby there. No? That one. That's a triangular with a curve. I like it when it's like this. Okay. Right. We still have some people on. Sure. Okay. Well, I have to commend them for their perseverance. Okay, there we go. Okay, now comes the interesting part. Now I must find that little cutter. No, that was this one. Okay.
circular bit.
Yeah. Woohoo! Okay, let's see if we can. Oh. Okay. Right. Let's try. Where is that little pointy tool? Okay. Hoopla. Yeah, somewhere there. I would love. This is a nice lathe. Hey. Okay, now comes the interesting part. Okay. Yeah. It's slightly below center. But if I set it at center height, what I discovered now is that then I'm cutting too high. Because of my angle of presentation, right? Look at where I'm cutting. I'm cutting slightly above. I have to. Not trying to. I have to. Because if I don't have the bevel rubbing, this thing will be flying. Okay, I have to. No. Don't have to be sorry. No. That's why we are. Okay, you learn, I learn. No, I don't take any questions from you anymore. Took your wife 45 years, huh? No, I tell you what. You know, yeah, I'll tell you a story. I'm a hobbyist. Call me that. A creative. You see that it says color creative because I create all kind of. Years ago, I just met my wife. I'm talking 50 years ago, 51 years ago. Rao, opening day. Just started, just this. Whoosh. Okay, great. And they had all kinds of faculties on display. And one of them was the art. And they had a German guy that was a silversmith. A silversmith. Sitting there on this podium, right, making jewelry. And I stood there. I was totally captivated. Total. Eventually, my uncle and his girlfriend and my wife, my future wife, all came. Come, we're going to go. And I just said, I'll be there now. And he went about creating a ring. They couldn't drag me away there with a team of horses. Okay, I was so captivated because it looked so easy. And I said, man, I want to do this. This I can do. Shit, man. So I joined, in those days, Yeovil Community Center. They had a lady there that was teaching silversmithing. And I went out. I still got some of my tools, by the way. And I went out and I bought the tools and everything else. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a rude awakening. Man, okay? Any professional always makes it look so damn easy. Because remember, he's made more mistakes than what you would ever make in your life, okay? To get to where he is. He's paid the school fees. I showed somebody this little bowl, and he said to me, how much? And I said, oh, about, he said, shit, why so much? I said, well, I spent 35 years getting to where I am. You're paying for school fees. You're paying for a nice design. You're paying for the timber's intrinsic value. And, yeah, that's it. I paid school fees. You're paying for that. Yeah. Okay, but, yeah, so it takes time. It takes years of practice. But yes, okay, so I'm getting there. I must profess, I'm sold. I won't buy the big one. I think I'll buy myself a smaller set like this. Okay? Because for students, you know what I'm saying? It's perfect introduction. Okay? Hey! You know, watching videos, you see that I like to do this. And Glenn said, I don't know what do you do. I said, oh, okay, right. So now I'm sitting and I'm going and I'm saying, oh, shit, okay. So, yeah, I start there and then I come around. Okay, so let's try it. Yeah. Picked up the cut. I go to keep it in. I go up. I go up. And when I get here, I start going down. Because you want to end at center height. Okay, so you start. You go up because you want to keep the bevel rubbing, and then you come down because you want to finish at center height. Okay, I hold it. You see, I want the bevel to rub. Okay, I've dropped my tool rest slightly. So I start slightly above, okay? And when I get here, I go down and up a bit, and then I start coming down. Okay? Because if you end above center height, right, whether it's scraping scissors, doesn't matter, you always leave this little nipple, right? And you don't want the nipple, you want it flat at the bottom. All right. Okay, so let's try. Hey. Willie, doe my gunst aan. Kry vir my 'n swart koffie toe. Willie sit net. Okay. Gaan jy nie vir my koffie kry nie? Okay, Willie. Volgende keer gaan ek sê, Pietie. Jy ook agter. Yeah, in the back. Okay. Oi. I'm getting there. There. Right. Let's pretend that it's the same as the other one. Okay. For me to now spend time getting it the same thickness as the other one. There. Oopla! Huh? How many hours have we been at it now? Without coffee. Cheers! And nobody looks after me. Ah, yeah. You know, us human beings, we are amazing animals. The psychology of man. 85% of 95% of what you fear in life never happens. Stuff that you worry about. Okay. Now, prior to this whole thing, okay, I'm new to this tools and all the rest. So I'm watching videos and that. And last night, in the wee hours, I wake up and I'm going, oh, you know, you are really worried. What if I do this? What if this happened? What's if, you know, it's natural. I'm human. And now I'm standing here and I'm thinking to myself, what for? What for? All that. I still don't have coffee. Hey, must I leave camera and go make myself a cup of coffee? Oh, they're making fresh. Oh, I have patience in abundance. We've been together for 50 years. What do you think?
I think she's stupid.
Hey, don't agree with her. No, this year. I get a good price for those. Yes, Kim, I'm taking it to Kim now. I'm finishing them. Okay. It depends. Okay. I can normally we go 50-50, right? Okay. So she sells it for 1,800 rand. Okay. I get my 900 bucks. Could be. I'm saying. Okay. There's the bevel. That's your bevel.
And then on the triangle and the square, that's basically the
Okay. Wait. Let me get it there. Okay. That's your bevel. Always that. The shape doesn't matter. Okay. Just get your bevel to turn, to rub. Okay. And if you're using this tool, hey, thank you very much for being so kind as to to tolerate my diatribe, huh? All my talk and chat and everything. But thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Just watch out for that corner. Watch out for that corner because if you're in there, if that thing, spectacular. Okay, it grabs. Okay, the oh, you can get it from any hardware. I think they got. Yes, you got. They got. Yeah, yeah. Where was I? Yes. We're just waiting for the beans to roast. We're just waiting for the beans to roast. Oh, I had a couple of my favorite. Okay, Seattle. They got the best commercial coffee. Right, let's. Well, you can have 2 cups.
Do I get a discount for the free course?
Right, there we have it. Okay. Okay. All my fears were ungrounded. Okay, there we have it. Where's my other one? The other bowl. I turn. Oh, there it is there. Okay, okay, no problem. I just wanted to check where it is. Because I'll take it home and finish it. Okay? I'll finish both. Shit. This is Kiat, yeah. You can smell it. Oof. Kiat is a... Not at all. How am I going to... Okay. I will manufacture a... I'll take a faceplate. I'll put on a piece of timber, right? And I'll put a groove in, but the groove will make space for that, right? Okay, it will be sort of a hollow. But the hollow will come in this way. No, sorry, that way. Okay, I'll put this in and it will just fit. And it's at a 5 degree or less slant. But bang it in. Right? Okay? And you turn that away. Alternatively, that's the old-fashioned way of doing it. Alternatively, Nova has something called the cold jaws, C-O-L-E, cold jaws. Yeah, cold jaws. They fit on these systems. Holes correspond, right? And they're that big. Okay. And they got rubber feet, nylon feet, and holes. So then you just get, and most probably this is what I will do on this one. And you put it in, you get the holes to correspond, okay, bopa, but very light cuts because it's not made, okay, it's made just to take away the foot. It's not for, okay, and you can adjust it according to. Yeah, okay. Yes, 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 it's called a cold jaw. Outside? No, no. It's all designed around wood turning. It's all got, oh yeah, you got long, I can have a look. They got long spigots and big ones and ripped ones and, oh, this thing is engineered to perfection. Beautiful, all right? But you get long extended jaws, you get big jaws, you get, this is 100 mil. This is 100 mil jaws. Then you get the jumbo jaws that are even bigger. And you get, all kinds, okay? I think that most of what you can dream up to do, okay, there'll be a chuck to hold it. All right, all kinds of. Yes, no. That's happened a few times, okay? Two, okay? Point taken. But yeah, the devil hides in small little spaces. Did anybody look at this one? Okay, right. So yeah, that's it. Hoe sê hulle in Afrikaans? Vleit, my story is uit. And I'm tired, yes. I've never spoken so much in my life. Okay, I would, one or two things, depends on what. I'll put on sanding sealer and then denib, right? Alternatively, like these, and denib. Okay, you can, but the oil is dead. Yes. Yeah. Something that's waterproof. Yes. Okay. Right. and durable. Okay. Oil, a good oil for a salad bowl in that. You don't want anything else because it's functional. You don't want it for looks. Finishing. There's a plethora of finishes, like you said, rightly so. It's for a multitude of uses. For the stuff I sell, right, I use sanding sealer, right, denib. In other words, what happens with timber? No matter how fine you sand, you can sand to 1,000 grit, okay? And the moment you wet it, especially with like sanding sealer, the grain lifts and it goes rough like sandpaper. You get these little fibers standing up. And what sanding sealer does is it lifts the grain, right, and then it hardens, it dries, and all these little sticking up. Then you take a fine sandpaper and you denib. You just sandpaper it again, it goes smooth, right? And now I apply this here. It's got 2 coats of Danish oil. Danish, yeah, they sell it. Yes, Danish oil. This here, it's got no sanding sealer on, right? But 1 coat. This is 1 coat of Danish oil. Okay, it's gone dead matte. Okay, now I'm waiting for it to dry because it takes a couple of days. This was baking in the sun yesterday at 30 whatever degrees. I'll leave it in there most probably until Monday or something like that. Then take sandpaper, denib it nicely, make it smooth. So most probably 500-600 grit sandpaper, and then give it a 2nd coat, and then a 3rd coat. No, Danish oil. Okay. No. Danish oil, don't think so. What you do is you use a normal. When I sell a salad bowl, okay, I treat it with medicinal liquid paraffin. Okay, because all the other oils go rancid. And medicinal liquid paraffin, right? You get it from your chemist. Okay, medicinal liquid paraffin. Okay, what doesn't fatten kills. Doesn't kill fattens. It's perfect. And what we do I've had 1 bowl now. Oh, my salad bowl must be about 30 something odd years old. And my wife every now and then, because it goes gunky with all the stuff, she takes a fine, a lofted nylon, a pot's cover, lofted nylon, and just takes a bit of soap, washes it, rinses it, puts it down, lets it dry. Okay, take salad oil or whatever she wants, liquid paraffin, wipe it again, ready for the next 30 years. I've had 1 bowl now for forever and ever and ever. Yeah. Yes, no, that is important. And it's again, horses for courses. Here mense, wat doen ek vir koffie? Waar is dit? Waar's my koffie? They gave it to me. Oh, there it is. You see, it disappears amongst. I tell you what, woodturning is the most amazing hobby. Things, and small. If a big thing like this can disappear, imagine what happens to a small screw. Okay, you apply it once, okay, just to seal it, okay. You seal it or you apply liquid paraffin. I normally put on 2, maybe 3 coats because the wood absorbs. Okay, now sort of more or less prepped. Okay, normally if it's a salad bowl, you take something. I will not take yard for a salad bowl. Okay, because it imparts taste that you don't. It's an acquired taste, let's put it that way. Okay, oak, any of those plant timbers, ash, oak, any of those that are, I just made an order now of 400 honey dippers out of white oak, right? Now, white oak is rather benign. It doesn't impart any real taste to it. Okay, jacaranda would have been perfect. But outside of bowl is jacaranda. Okay? And that's what you do. You treat it with that, it goes gunky. because it's salad dressing and it's all kinds of. Then it's a little bit of a lofted nylon, soap, water, rinse it off with warm water, okay? Leave it to dry. Then reapply, okay, to seal again. And off you go. Ours is, 30 something odd years old, so yeah. Beautiful piece of jacaranda. Nice. Butcher's block. Plunky. Yes, you can put that on too if you want to. Yes, you can do that. Another thing that you can, because when I started, Plunky didn't exist. Okay, now they got a product by the name of Plunky. I get it from Chamberlain's. They sell it. Chamberlain's. Yeah, it's got fancy little Plunky in a pink. Plunky, Planki, I think. Plunky. Yes, they put beeswax. Yes, I treated. Yes, yes. Exactly. Okay. It's thin, it seals a grain. Okay. By the way, I watched the article. Um, Timber as a cutting board is far more hygienic than stainless steel or nylon. You see, timber has warded off bacterial attack all its life, right? Because it's prone to bacterial attack. So they all timbers have a natural defense. Some more so than others. I mean, if you look at the defense that deodar cedar, I don't know if you know it. It's a cedar, but man, oh man, you don't want to go no close to that stuff, okay? Because the resin in that, it's got so many phenols in it that it's used for nothing. I made the mistake years ago of turning a side table, bed side table, for a lady. And I got a most irate call a month or so later. She said, "Look at what you did." She sent me a WhatsApp photo. White clock. The phenols in the timber attacked the plastic of the clock. And it was all gunky and soft, and the whole thing just went, okay? Cost me a new clock, right? And an apology, and I turned the two new ones because I found out that deodar cedar. So the timber has a natural defense, right? And guys in a lab, I believe, the article, so yeah, in a lab, they were doing tests. And they found out that between stainless, nylon, and timber had far less of a bacterial count because of its properties. Okay, so yes, I've seen one or two things on YouTube where they debunk that and they say, no, you know. Okay, my husband got ate chicken and wasn't proper, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, salmonella, huh? Chicken, yeah. So, yeah, there's all theories floating around, but I trust the fact that timber that timber is the most used resource known to man. Yeah? From when we got out of the tree, okay? We used the tree to live in. We used it for fire, for buildings, for all toilets are made. No? Yes, that's true, by the way. That's true. Okay, I'm learning. Yeah. Yes, okay. I don't know who's still left. Those hardy souls that are still there. Thank you for taking the time to watch me. Hope you picked up one or two little tips amongst all the chat and the talk and the questions. And let's hope that we do it again one day. If you learned anything, let them know. I would appreciate the feedback.